Hello everyone, Burb here. Let's talk about pace chasers in the Cancer Cup. It's rather late where I'm at. I've been using my voice a lot today, so apologies if the audio is slightly off, but today I will be talking about pace chasers. This is the last of the 4 rule guides that I'm going to be doing for Champions Meeting 15. Today we are specifically going over skills, why they work, when they work, cards, and characters for the pace chaser position. I will be making an example build at the very end to help you out. But there's a little bit to talk about, so let's go and get right into it. Pace Chaser is good. Obviously, Christmas Oguri is a good character, but the problem with the rest of the Pace Chasers is you do not have a consistent position-based accel that the other different roles have. So you're in no man's land between angling and scheming and moving past and beyond, which are first and fifth, sixth for the front runners, late surgers, and end closers respectively, in the positions between second through fourth where the pace chasers normally operate, and there's no guaranteed positional based accel that happens at a good timing on this particular Hanshin 2200 meter track. It's hard to go and recommend a pace chaser to most characters. However, I do understand a lot of Oshis are the pace chaser position. Almost the entire roster is pace chaser, and what I'm here to say is that yes, they are not completely dead. There is a path to victory. It's just a little bit more difficult than the other roles. However, if your Oshi can easily be run in the late surger position in particular, I would suggest moving them over to late surger because they are just as easy to build and they have more options in Measure Orion and Measure Odober ultimates. Otherwise, the good thing about pace chasers is you have less PDM than the other roles. You are positioned further forward. You have lower late race speed, so you do need to grab a little bit more late race. And of course, you are gambling on your acceleration. Those are the pros and cons with running a pace chaser. So let's talk about the skills. First of all, sorry about that. Your stats are the same as everyone else. I have calculated this using the good or the normal mood pace chaser rushed calculation, so there's a little bit of a stamina buffer. You can increase the 900 if you wish to be completely immune to debuffs pretty much, but otherwise you're pretty much good at 1200, 1000 with 850, 550. I think you will spurt more often than not. Okay, this is a spurt map, not a survival map as per always. For the primary accelerations for pace chasers. For the secondary accelerations as pace chasers. Yep, no, there is no primary acceleration for the pace chaser position. It's hard to recommend a acceleration when Christmas Oguri already has an advantage of 6.1 meters. Now, Christmas Oguri is obviously a good character, and there's not really any acceleration in the game that reaches this level on its own for pace chasers, except No Stopping Me, which is my only primary acceleration suggestion. The problem with No Stopping Me is it's not 100% reliable. However, in this Champions Meeting, because it is technically a corner 3 map, you will not fan out, so it's more reliable than the previous CM. If you perfect proc it, it is 7.19 lengths as No Stopping Me, as Nimble Nav. It is 3.5 lengths, so it's perfectly fine as well. But full No Stopping Me is the path to victory for pace chasers. If you proc this at great timing, you are on par with Christmas Oguri Cap. Now, the problem is that if Christmas Oguri Cap also procs No Stopping Me, then she is ahead again. But this is your best bet when getting into position to win the race, all right? And the other thing about Nimble Navigator and No Stopping Me is that normally on a pace chaser run, you will have front runners that do not go and hit their angling and scheming, so there will be people that you can rabbit off of, especially if you run your own front runners to put more front runners in the mix. Otherwise, your secondary acceleration, this is going to be sort of the shotgun mode that you really need to do. The one good thing is that I never goof up. It's such a hard character, Meisho Doto, to actually make parents for, but I would not necessarily suggest building parents for that, but if one exists with high enough affinity, you perhaps should take it, because once you nimble nav somebody, you most likely will pass them pretty quickly and it will give you the bonus 0.1 accel, and that may be enough to get you over the hump. Otherwise, you are shotgunning head-on or neck and neck. You most likely just need white head-on or ignited spirit power or radiant star or some combination of the three. That's really all you can do, is go and hope that multiple of your accelerations hit, which allow you to get on par with the other different roles. Otherwise, you can do this. I don't necessarily suggest it, but you can go for Lucky Pace Chaser and grab angling and scheming, or you can go and run 2 front runners and try to get moving past and beyond. Wouldn't suggest Ryan ever. I really don't suggest trying to get 5th place because it doesn't seem like it's ever really going to work. But if you're running 2 front runners, you can consider seeing if you consistently get 5th place, if someone else runs front runners, and if you are running 2 backliners, you can consider whether or not you can get angling and scheming for the lucky pace positioning. However, these probably should be taken behind any of these that show up, and no stopping me, of course, that you're doing it. For gamble, accelerations are the same as everyone. Unfortunately, pace chasers get 2 accelerations that are a little bit tough. Corner Connoisseur is the same as always, 1 in 8. Shatterproof is just a bad skill in general. It's like a 1 in 10 in a situation where you're in the back half of the pack, which is a position you don't want to be in as a pace chaser. And Determined Descent, which I understand this is a downhill track, it can work. Now, the thing is with Determined Descent is that because there's 2 downhills, it'll select at random which downhill it wants. If it selects the first one, you have a 50-50 chance to basically shroud step. It's the same timing as Highlander or the shroud step timing, and it's roughly about half the time. It'll give you acceleration either in the position where you go from the early race to the mid race like Highlander does, or if you get the shroud step timing, which I understand is not as good as Umamusume. It still exists, and you can see on simulation it still gives you roughly a length. Now remember that Determined Descent is a 0.3 accel and Straight Descent's a 0.2, so most likely when you're gambling you only need the white version Straight Descent unless you have a ton of hint books or a ton of hints on Determined Descent to make it super cheap. Now if it does decide to proc on the second downhill, it basically has a 1 in 5 chance to actually be put into the acceleration zone. The downhill extends slightly before. That is why 777 works as well on the downhill. That's why Camping Dover alt works as well. That's my bad. It will proc either before and leak into the late race, or it'll proc directly at the start, or it will be on this massive dead zone at the end. So you are gambling a 1 in 5 with this skill. It is, it's comparable, but not really, because head-on is still like a 1 in 4 to a 1 in 3. But it is just a little bit more of a gamble besides it, because truly the high roll is basically a 1 out of 10. So it's a little bit tough. Again, I don't suggest any final corner accelerations, because the problem is, even though you are a pace chaser and you don't have enough acceleration options, if you are procking your first or your second acceleration on that final corner, which is like 100 and 125 meters late, you're just not going to win. You have a Christmas augury or a late surger that is hit behind you that's going faster than you, and even if they're not, they are a late surger, so they have more late race speed than you actually have either. Otherwise, you have Highlander for that transition period. It is less. It is like closer to 0.7 than 0.8, but it's fine. You have Shroud Step as well, and of course, Determined Descent has that 50-50. Shroud Step, again, gives roughly a half length in the early race, okay? So it's a little bit of a half length, which is roughly what a white skill is. So just consider it another white skill, so it just happens to be quite cheap. Otherwise, Umamusume is, of course, a very good skill. It is roughly 0.5 as well, and also it kind of combos a little bit with it. Otherwise, straight skills are great. Corner skills are great. Same analysis as pretty much before. When we had Throne coming out, we will get medium corners for free, and they will have a chance of speed carry over. Otherwise, your mid-race, you have Killer Tunes, which is a primary that's on the El Contrapasa power card. You will hopefully be in the front half of the pack. If you're not, then there is 6 front runners, and you're probably nimble nabbing off of them at least, so maybe that's a good thing. But otherwise, Killer Tunes should be procking pretty consistently because you are front half of the pack. Nothing ventured, you know what you're doing. And Burning Soul, if there is another pace chaser or a front runner that is lagging behind, could work as well, although it is a little bit more tough when people aren't running pace chasers. Otherwise, your pass combo kind of works. It's on, tail held high, tail 9, playtime's over, slipstream, same analysis as the other 3 rolls. That's not a lobby gamble anymore. So your late race, you have Speed Star, which is on Fine Motion. I believe it's on a couple of other cards too, but Fine Motion is the primary one. Come what may, or all I've got is like a mini, I keep saying this is like a mini Christmas augury. Christmas Augury Ultimate is perfectly fine. Speedstar is on Fine Motion. It's just a little bit expensive. It does look like it has a massive dead zone. It really doesn't, because by the final corner, if you hit your accels, you should be pretty much at max speed at that point. So Speedstar is practically safe in the positions in which you are winning, because you are hitting your acceleration, especially on Christmas Augury Cap with the guaranteed acceleration. Then otherwise you have IBAM and Home Stretch Haste and your pace chaser. So if you're being passed, you're being passed by a late surger or a Christmas Augury. Otherwise, your late race inherits. Your primary ones probably are Bark Roll of Blessings for being top 4 on the final straight, 400 meters rather. Ravissant for passing somebody on the final corner. It's the same analysis. If you hit your accels, you're most likely passing somebody, and when you're passing somebody on that final corner, you should be close to max speed, and Shadow Break for the same reason. Otherwise, you have Triumph Pulse for the 200 meter mark, and the Teos are both a little weird and a little finicky, but Anime Teo is pretty good option as well. For cards, let me grab a drink. So, for cards, when Throne's out, you grab Throne, of course. But besides that, there's not too many options for speed. NTR actually does get a couple of things for you. You do get PTP and Pace Chaser Savvy, along with All I've Got apparently twice, and Kiddison Black for your Pro Curve. For stamina, you got Burning Soul. And then for power, you do have Neck and Neck on the Daiska Power card. I don't think you do this. Because I think you only need the white version, and I've kind of talked with some people on it from Sciacord, and they seem to believe the same way, is that you are more likely to nimble nab plus head-on gamble than you are to full neck and neck gamble, so you are better off running a better power card, either being like Nishino Flower Power or something like It's On from Yaino Mateki to grab a bunch of mid-race hits itself. Otherwise, your guts cards, you have PTO. Also, just so you know, for the Pace Chasers, you do get up tempo and I believe PTP as well. So this card has a lot of different hints that are useful for your PTO on Yukino Bijin. Otherwise, Find Motion will probably be your primary borrow for the flip for Speed Star, as well as Nimble Navigator and right-handed on the hints. And Yukino Bijin, I cannot suggest borrowing this card, even though No Stopping Me is your win condition, because the output is just simply that terrible. If you have a 0 LB copy, she is runnable as a utility card. If you do not own this card, do not go and borrow this card, because unfortunately your stats will suffer too much. So this is just an if you own it, if you even have a 0 LB copy, I would suggest trying to run it for the No Stopping Me win condition. Otherwise, just run your best wit card that you can, 15% RB on the Nice Nature wit card, or Mr. CB if you have nothing else, because it's just low LB for a decent amount of wit as well. If you're SR or free to play, for the SR cards that are really great, try to run the power cards with high race bonus as well. Marvy Power gets a lot of hints that are great and just generalist, as well as the Marvy Wit version. Otherwise, if you can't even run Yukino Bijin, you can run Measure Orion Power and at least get the white Nimble Navigator and sort of combine that with the head-on hints that you can get from, like, I don't know, Special Week, or just through the racing. You probably can just get it from the race itself. Otherwise, you do have Daitaku Helios, who gives a bunch of mid-race hints. However, this power card does not have the greatest stat output. Shinko Windy and Tosin Jordan, as per usual, are your speed options. And finally, you have the wit options that I mentioned before with Agnes Tachyon and Marvy Wit as well. For characters, I'm not going to go through all of them. Like I said, I reached my limit on the timing, but also because a lot of them have very high late aptitude, I would rather you go and play them in the position where they're going to have a higher chance of winning, which is the late surger or even the end closer position. So I will be giving a cross section as per usual for Pace Chasers. I'll get to your characters in a separate video most likely. But I have tried to do and at least give some of them that seem to have a little bit more than the meta itself. But let's go and talk about characters. First of all, Christmas Oguri Cap. You do have a ton of options that I really haven't talked about till now, but the easiest ones are the 2-in kit, which are 777 and Hydrate, and then your combination of either Corner Recovery, Soft Step, Ignite, Pure Stamina are the best options, because those are not position bound whatsoever. Otherwise, you can grab stuff like Dazzle and Diver, which is basically 2nd through 7th, which is basically not position bound. The only time it fails is in Lucky Pace lobbies. And then after that, you can get Pref Pro, but it's the front half. And so unfortunately, in situations where there's 4 front runners or more, you're going to have trouble because you can't really get into position for it. And if it picks the wrong timing for it, it can just lose. Otherwise, you're starting to get into the position-based ones. You can look at the position-based recoveries, but ideally you pick 2 of these rather, and 777. Festive Miracle is, of course, a 6.1 length advantage. This character is very good. And if a character can run late or front, do so in general. Except for this is the only exception, Christmas Oguri is just simply very easy to build in the Pace Chaser position. Other strong Pace Chasers. So the free-to-play characters are my Ano Top Gun, who at least has No Stopping Me. She's very difficult to build and should be built in the front runner position, but the Pace Chaser at least can just grab No Stopping Me, and hopefully the flashy landing combined with the No Stopping Me while you're passing is enough late race to get you there. Although, like I said, it still is a lot of times not enough to go and fight against Christmas Ogre Cap. Otherwise, Agnes Tachyon has like a legitimate reason to be played in the pace chaser position, and that Uma squared can really only proc from second through fourth, and so, or third through fourth rather. And so, if you're in the late surge position, you're most likely not really procking this. This is technically the second half of the race, and it'll be late race speed, but this has the chance of actually speed carrying overing, just clipping it barely if you are in the pace chaser position, and it may be enough to get you to the final mark. We will build this character a little bit later, but you do get the medium corners, medium straights, as well as that 20% speed bonus to help you. Otherwise, there's a couple characters that have some reason to play as pace. TM Opera O New Year's, the only reason why you wouldn't play her front is because she's very difficult to build front because she doesn't give you anything and has very bad aptitude for it. In the pace chaser position, you can at least go and run Bark Roll of Blessings without having to gamble in the late surger position. Now, it's a very, very strong late race speed skill, and all you basically need to do is get like no stopping me, get your accelerations on this character, and hopefully that is enough. If you just, the times which you hit, you have the late race speed built into the kit that you will go and convert those into a win. You can also run this in late surger too, remember that though. So you get PCS, P2P, you probably are running the cards to grab these anyways, but that 14% speed bonus is really going to help with the 8% wit as well. Regular Opera O, the reason to run this one is that, hey, you do get some speed on the final corner, but mostly you get Killer Tunes Gold and Speed Star Gold. You just have a lot of mid-race and late-race speed built into the kit, so if you don't have Fine Motion as well, you do get Speed Star and kit, and you can borrow a different wit card as well. Otherwise, this character is a little tough with the 20% stamina bonus, but the 10% wit should help you, and it's just kind of like it's not as strong as the Taiki Mile situation because your ultimate isn't as good as it, but you at least have basically the golds that you are looking for on the pace chaser position. Festival Rudolph can be played late or front. I've been suggested by someone who's an Oshi frontrunner player, or Oshi Rudolph player, that Festival is probably better to be played in the frontrunner position, but if you don't want to go for the front aptitude because you don't have parents for it, you can run her pace, and she is a straight descent gamble character with PCS, PC straights, as well as PC corners, and prepared to pass in kit, as well as some decent stat growth. Meisho Dodo is the high roll gambler of high roll gambles because I never goof up is a 0.3 acceleration if you end up passing somebody. If you get NSM on this character and you pass them, you basically have a 0.7 acceleration. That is well enough to go and win the race from that position. However, I never goof up is one of the most finicky ultimates in the game because it needs to chain off of a second acceleration actually hitting. So while she seems very, very strong on paper, unfortunately, when you actually go and run her, the trouble you're going to have is getting that initial pass with that no stopping me or a nimble navigator, okay? Otherwise, Speedstar and Kit will help you with medium corners. Anime Teo, certain victory is a great late race skill when it decides to proc. It should decide to proc its 5th or better. You can technically run her late surger, but again, it takes a lot of sparks to get to that part. It takes two sparks to do late surger. So if you're Teo Oshi that is looking to just play the character, Anime Teo can go and exist in the pace chaser position. You just got to kind of put all the stuff on her from a clean slate. The same thing with regular Tokai Teo. She technically has Technician, which is Shrewd Step Gold, and Lightning Step is a gamble option, but doesn't really give you that much outside the 20% speed bonus. Rice Shower has tough aptitudes. You can run her front, I believe, but she is a determined descent character with acceleration 0.3 for the gamble and Highlander for the same reason. I would probably not take Highlander on this one too much unless you're looking for the parent borrow, but Blue Rose Closer still is late race speed. If you pass anybody, which is in the situation which you are winning, you should be passing people, you should get that little basically bonus of a 0.355 second duration ultimate. Very tough stat bonuses. Fuji Kaseki Rabasan is one of the parents inherits for late race that we are that I'm suggesting to put onto other pace chasers, so naturally it is very good on her. I believe she has head on and kit, and I forgot to put it on her along with very good stat requirements, and the thing is that this character gives a 0.455 second, which is actually kind of insane. And again, even though it is final corner, it is late enough that you should be close to max speed and you should be passing somebody at that point, okay? Regular Fuji Kaseki is basically Rabasant or Ballroom Fuji Kaseki. It's just a little bit more tough, except for the stat bonuses being slightly better with a little bit more power bonus. Otherwise, Lollies of Vaudeville is basically a finicky late race skill that requires somebody to be very close to you, behind you in a lane that's close to you. As we learned from the Miles CM, after you start fanning out, there's just a chance you choose the outer lane, and that's it. You can't really proc your ultimate unless another one of your characters ends up line swinging as well. So, Lights of Vaudeville, regular Fuji Kaseki, probably a little bit worse than Ballroom on this map because the ultimate is just a little bit more finicky. Neither of them give you too much, although head-on is quite nice on the Ballroom Fuji Kaseki. Anime McQueen is good, but I think you can go and stretch her into late surgery position a little more. Measure McQueen, you can run her as a front runner as well. But Measure McQueen TDDC on the final corner as a Measure McQueen and not as an inherit TDDC. Final corner should proc. You will not lose very much of it at all because it's still a duration of 5 seconds. Now the tough thing is her mile aptitude is bad, as well as the 20% stamina bonus. A lot of these page chasers have this thing that I'm doing because I just think there's a lot of issue grabbing the sparks on parents to go and flex them into the different roles. Wedding Find Mo, best day ever, unfortunately, is a final corner acceleration, so the acceleration component will not count on that. However, the target speed on the final corner should be quite nice, and you do have the neck and neck gamble built into the kit, so you can NSM neck and neck gamble for the 0.8 or just take the head-on. Take head-on plus no stopping me or head-on plus nimble navigator and just load up on mid-race and late race as well. Regular fine motion, don't care where she in the pack. However, what I will say is that she only have Pace Chaser Aptitude A, so if you are looking for the easy build fine motion, she has Fairy Tale, which is just a block side continue time at pretty much any point in which you're in position for 2nd through 4th. I believe 2nd through 4th, it could be 2nd through 5th. Otherwise, she has Speed Start and Determined Descent in kit as well, so you can gamble, but most likely you should be putting Head On plus Nimble Nav or No Stopping Me on the character instead. Measure Arden has a lot, and you need to overstand this character a little bit. However, Lifelong Dream is a 4-second 0.45, which is better than a 0.355 second. And you have Come What May, which is like an incredible late race skill. You do this plus Tripulse plus her ult, and all of a sudden you're basically just faster than everyone. It doesn't matter if they're an end closer or if it's Pace Chaser or front runner. As long as you go and you hit your Accel somehow, and then you go into the late race in a decent position, man, this character has so much late race speed. Again, I think you can stretch her into different roles. She does have 20% whip bonus, but if you don't want to go and mess with aptitudes, you can run her Pace Chaser as well. Chio is kind of the same thing, just a little bit worse. Surpass the Sakura will probably proc at the 300 meters marks exactly because you won't be in first. However, it is not really as strong as Measure Arden, but if you are a Sakura Chino O player and you don't wish to go in the front runner position, you do get medium corners and Pace Chaser Savvy and a 10% speed bonus to help you out with the character. Hakebono, I guess I didn't even put her stat growth on here, but you do need to tune. I think you shouldn't need to tune her stamina. It should run out after the acceleration zone anyways. There's a 400 meter downhill, so it's really difficult to tune the actual stamina in order to proc this ultimate in the acceleration zone, or rather leaking into the acceleration zone. So you should probably just consider this as bonus mid-race to help you out, and just go and proc your ultimate as per normal whenever it decides to proc, because that 400 meter downhill can save up to 240 stamina, so it's very difficult to tune this character. Taiki Shuttle Camping is a new character with 30% power bonus, which is absolutely ridiculous. You just run Speed Wit deck on this character. Joyful Voyage is basically a Triumph Impulse with a bonus little current speed. It's a 0.5 in the positions where you are very close to the leader. If you're not, you're probably not winning as a Pace Chaser anyways. And you have neck and neck in kit along with Pace Chaser corners and wet conditions. Otherwise, regular Taiki, Nishino Flower, El Condor Pasa Fantasy, even honestly base El Condor Pasa doesn't really work very well because their alts don't work. So I would try to go and stretch them into positions where if you're an Oshi player for these, that they have other bonus accelerations to at least let them to high roll. But they are not very great on the tracks in which their alts do not work because their acceleration. And that's all the characters I'm going to give, because honestly, if the character has late at all, if it has end at all, if it has even front at all, I understand not wanting to run front runners, but because of how difficult they are, because there's so much stuff you have to grab. But if they have any form of late surger aptitude, you probably should be playing them in the late surger position. It's just a little bit easier than having to go and source No Stopping Me from a card that doesn't give you that much width. So apologies if I missed your Oshi. If you have a question about them in the comments, I'll try to get around to them, and I probably will go and revisit them in a future video. Do not worry. So I hope that that has been at least a cross section of pace chasers that seem to have at least some value in the pace chaser role. Let's do a couple examples. I'm gonna grab a drink. I'm sorry, I use my voice a lot, so it just keeps dying. If you have every character in the game, every card in the game, that's what our first example is always going to be. Let's make a TM Opera O because she just has a lot of skills in the kit itself. Okay, let's grab our required acceleration for No Stopping Me, because if we own this card, we should run this card to try to high roll into a build that can actually win. As well as we're going to grab Citizen Black for Professor of Curvature. We're going to use Yaina Mateki for It's On a bunch of mid-race. We could go and swap this out for El Condor Pasa Power if we didn't have killer tunes already built in the kit. And then from there, we just grab a bunch of cards that are going to be more stat sticks than else. We have Speed Star already in kit as well, but if we didn't, Fine Motion would be sources that, and we also get a couple of Pace Chaser skills from NTR, and then we normally would just borrow something. If Throne is released, we would borrow Throne. We could Groundwork from Smart Falcon Power if we like I said, we could Killer Tunes from El Condor Pasa Power if we didn't already have it in kit, or we can just go and grab Nishino Flower Power for the 15% race bonus and the chance of getting Charming to high roll your runs. As a more free-to-play build, let's just make an Agnes Tachyon. You have Uma squared in kit that can give you the speed carryover high roll as well as medium straights and medium corners. And then let's go and add Professor of Curvature in our Citizen Black. That is the one card that I go and allow for these free-to-play builds. I assume you have one singular card in the SSR form at some point in order if you're playing Champions Meetings. If you don't, you can replace it with just a 5% speed card bonus, and it'll work. You just won't have Pro Curve. Otherwise, try to get Nimble Nav at least from Measure Orion Power. Again, if you own a 0 LB copy at all of Yukino Bijin, this is where that would slot in. It is a utility card. It gives you some mood ups. It doesn't give you like any training wit whatsoever, so you may have to go and swap out a different card with a wit card if you want anything above like 800 wit. Otherwise, you grab a bunch of cards meant to increase your RB. We're going to grab Marvy Wit because we're not running Marvy Power. We can run Flower Power as well and Shinko Wendy just to get our race bonus as high as possible. And then our borrow at this point is again either Throne or probably Fine Motion as a wit card. If you run Throne, you're going to have a little bit lower wit, but I think at this point it will be fine because you're generally wanting to go and grab all your skills in order to actually win the race itself. So either Throne when it comes out, or you go and grab Fine Motion for Speed Star, and the fact it actually gives you a ton of wit. You can also go, and if you really want to, you can borrow Nice Nature for the race bonus if you don't really care about Speed Star Flip too much. I don't necessarily think it's an absolutely required skill. It's just a decently efficient late race skill this time. It is very expensive though. So of all the late race skills that are gold, this is still like 380 skill points. So it is technically more efficient than white skill, but do not fret if you are unable to go and grab Fine Motion. You can go, if you have good enough parents, grab a bunch of white skills to compensate for it and be slightly less efficient than that. All right, that's been the Pace Chaser Guide. I know it hasn't been the greatest of news. I think you guys knew it wouldn't have been the greatest of news, but I hope that you understand. Oh, there's a checklist. Yeah, I misordered the skies. Wow, I'm sorry, guys. It's very late. The checklist for you, just to look at real quick. Speed, power, wit. Power greater than 900 is more important because of the uphills, and then wit after that point as much as you can. Stamina guys 850, 550. And then you need to shotgun your accelerations as much as possible. Try to give as much as possible. No Stopping Me is kind of your ticket to win here. Otherwise, you need to grab Nimble Nav, Egg Power, or Radiant Star, or Head On, or Doto Alt. Some combination of like 3 of those to try to get you to a point where you can hit the 0.4, 0.6 to go and try to fight against Christmas Oguri. And then you just load up on as much mid-race and late race as possible. Umastand is still good on those Pace Chasers. You still have PDM. It's just not as powerful, but it's still a good skill to grab. So that is it. That is the Pace Chaser Guide. Apologies for that. Again, it's very late right now, and my voice is not working with me. So apologies for that, but I hope Pace Chaser got people. There is a little bit of hope still. I have shown you that, hey, you can still win with No Stopping Me. It's perfectly fine. It's just a little bit harder to source the things. If you are a dedicated Pace Chaser main, do not worry, your time will come. For now, though, you are a gambling option in this Champions meeting, although you won't have much competition because most people will probably be playing front runners and late surger and closers as well. So I hope you've enjoyed this Pace Chaser guide. All that's left is I need to thank the members. So memberships are not required ever for this channel to exist, but I do appreciate those who support the channel, and I appreciate you all for watching, even in my sort of dying voice state. For those in the board tier, I do read out their names. So thank you especially to Kiko Z IRL, Immobility, Mr. Merritt, Crest of Gautier, Lucifel, Ogre Capizza Burger, Peter Van San, Oscar Van Bruce, Mishia, Sage, CD Ogren, Etep Pete, Flipper Z, Suez, Vega Vex, Legato 39, Rain Again, Miss Clone, Anger Raputra, JJ Soso Sorcerer, Trevor Overtone, Elise Bright, and Delegante. Appreciate you all. Again, Pace Chasers, I know it's tough. I've been there as a late surger main. Your time will come, but good luck if you are building a Pace Chaser, or at this point, because I've done all 4 guides, if you're going and building your stuff for CM15. Again, I suggest building your parents. I suggest going and building your Umas so that you are happy on day of registration with the team that you are deciding to bring. And then at that point, you can go and try to high roll with Throne if you wish. So still go and build your Umas over the next week or 2. When Throne gets released on day 1 or 2, whenever they decide to actually release it in timing, I believe it's on day 2 now. Go from there and just go and try your best at making a better Uma, but just make sure you have a team ready. All right? Take care, everyone. I will try to go and make some more content for tomorrow, but I wanted to go and finish out the guides today. That was my goal for today, and hopefully this has helped you in that respect. Take care, everyone. Burbout.